Afternoon and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to SATAL 2021. I, as always, am your host, Moltar. Question of the day today inside of the DCS World Events Discord. If you guys want to have any partaking in that, we ask a new question every day. Today's question was about how did you get your call sign? And I even answered that question, so if you want to know how I got my call sign and anybody else's call sign in the community, head over to the DCS World Events Discord. Link should be down below. Moltar, can you please skip our Bob lining up on runway? That was pretty much tragic as hell. But, Dave, that's what we all come here to see. The tragicness and the terribleness of both my stream and the things that people encounter during their flights. So if I am going to showcase all of my tragic terribleness, I feel like all of you need to live that along with me. Dave, you can have pants emote. Yeah, that's how we rock. Lots of first-time viewers I'm noticing. Lots of first-time people coming to hang out with us. Today's matchup is Blue Oyster Boys taking on 18 Sparrows. It is our first journey into Silver League. Silver League, there are 5 different leagues inside of SATAL, inside of 2 formats. You've got Diamond League 6v6, Gold League 6v6, Diamond 4v4, Gold 4v4, and Silver 4v4. Now, just because a team is in Silver does not mean that they're a bad team. All the teams that were put into Silver are new to SATAL. So I didn't want to throw them to the wolves in this first matchup. There will be relegation coming after this season ends, depending on how a team does. So if the good team does really well inside of Silver, they will move up into Gold. If they don't, they'll stay. So it allows teams to play against others at their own level. I didn't want teams to have to play against veterans to competitive play, all of that stuff. So that's the reasoning for that. And I think it's worked out rather well given how many three-round matches we have had so far this year. Teams playing against similar skilled opponents, I think, is more fun to participate in, and it's also more fun to watch because we end up getting these 3-round matches, which is a lot of fun. They're closer. Things end up going down to the wire. It's just a ton of fun all around. So today's matchup, Blue Oyster Boys taking on 18 Sparrows in a Silver League 4v4. This is our first foray into Silver League 4v4. So let's check out the Supercut. I think this mission location is going to be Kataisi against Nelchik. So we've seen this one, I think, once, maybe twice already this year. But Kataisi against Nelchik. Now, Shifty Mover, these Supercuts are fairly short. They're more of an advertisement for the stream for Twitter, but they are fun to watch. So we're going to check that out. If you want to watch a longer video, make sure you check out, and I think it was linked earlier, the top plays from last week that Alpha Whiskey just finished up. That is now going to be out. So let's check out the Supercut. When we get back, it is going to be Kataisi against Nelchik. Blue Oyster Boys taking on 18th Sparrows. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little loud. Let's turn that down. I can hear some of the aircraft. I think that's for 18 Sparrows. I can't tell exactly who that is turning on. Log up here for 18 Sparrows on camera too is actually... What's going on there? Oh, the music was just turning off. There is no audio for him. Is there audio on any of these? Yes, there is. So Log is actually just turned off. So some of these guys are just taxiing. But let's take a look at the lineups for who is flying in today's matchup. So 18 Sparrows, Destern, Log, because I can't say, or I can call him Padat. How the hell do I say his name? Padat Orlag? Or How do I say that? Somebody please help me. Please help me. Tempest and Saint all in F-16s. Then the Blue Oyster Boys, Dawies, David, Zemek, and Corp, 3 16s and a 27. So that's going to be interesting. These guys are taking up on the runway here, 0-7. Blue Oyster Boys are going to be down at Kataisi, 18 Sparrows up at Nelchik. Yeah, Pat. Well, I'm just going to call him Pat. That's how we're rolling. I think last time we called him Log. This time we're going to call him Pat. You know, whatever. So the DCS overlay is working. You can see everybody here. We are going to make some changes, or at least one change. We may try and get rid of the gap in between, but I honestly think that the gap gives you a little bit more of a view into the background of what's going on, and it separates the icons a bit. I think it may make it a little bit more readable. We are going to get rid of the missile icons, though, and we're going to structure it. I got the suggestions on YouTube. We're going to structure it just Fox 1, Fox 3, Fox 1, Fox 2. So it's just going to be like 302 or 10-1-2. So it's always going to be Fox 3, Fox 1, Fox 2. That's how it's going to be listed. It's just going to be numbers with a pipe in between them. And it's going to be, hopefully we can make it even a little bit smaller side to side so we can push things like the blue ones to the left. We can push the red ones to the right and make the overlay a little bit smaller. But that's how things are going to go. Today is a 4v4, 18th Sparrows against Blue Oyster Boys. Faisal, it is all 120Cs unless somebody is a masochist and they've taken 120 Bravos. SATAL this year is unlimited. You can take whatever you want with the exception of nukes, ground weapons, and the AIM-9X. Everything else, there is no restriction. If you want to carry 10 mother truck and AMRAMs on an F-18, you go ahead. If you want to carry 6 telephone poles on that F-14, that's on you. There are no weapon restrictions in this matchup, so it allows teams to be more flexible. They can figure out what they want to do. There is no longer a bounds in which they have to participate in with those types of weapons. Now, saying that, next year, in 2022, we are going to try and launch another SATAL that is going to be more restrictive. So my ideas right now, SD-10 will be banned completely. The AIM-54 will be restricted to the Mark 47. Will be down to 120Bs. AIM-9X will still be banned. But we're going to try and go more of like an early 90s loadout, if you will, somewhere in that time frame. And I realized that the C variant of the Mark 47 and the Mark 60 were allowed, but we're going to remove those for balance sake for everything. So that is what is going to go on there. Why is the AIM-9X not allowed? So the AIM-9X historically is not allowed because I didn't want people just to get that 90-degree off aspect cannonball and launch in the merge. I want people to have to come around in the merge and outrate their opponent instead of just shooting. That's where that came from. That's why that's a thing. It takes a lot of the skill out of the merge. So I recognize that the AIM-54 could be seen as more OP. I think actually it's pretty easy to defeat, which we've seen it defeated numerous times, and it's not really effective unless the teams utilize it appropriately, which most of the time is waiting until you get in close and getting launched on from multiple angles. Guys at this level know how they do decently well about getting away from the Phoenix, right? They've done very well about getting away from it so far. So that's why it's been banned. It may see a reappearance here later. We'll just have to see. I think a lot of the teams like having it banned because it stops you from being the first to push the button and allows skill to come into the merge instead of, oh, I see you, boom, shoot that AIM-9X off and see who does that first. So that's where that's at. And that's why that was removed. So these guys are now taking off, looking at Blue Oyster Boys Zemek as he departs down here at Kataisi. Reminder, 18 Sparrows are going to be out of Nelchik. Let's go over again who is flying. Again, 18 Sparrows are Destern, Pat, Tempest, and Saint, all in 16s. All in 16s. And then Blue Oyster Boys are Daw, David, Zemek, and Corp. All 16s again, with the exception of Corp in the J11. I'm going to assume that's a J11, not a Su-27, because the J11 can carry the R-77s, and the Su-27 cannot. So that would be my assumption, that it is a J11 and not a Su-27. But let's look at his aircraft and see if he's got any 77s on it. No, that was the wrong one. So 77s, he does. He's got 3 of them. So that is definitely a J11. So he's got 4 77s, 2 ETs, and 4 73s. And you guys can actually see that in the overlay. If you look at his aircraft, interesting. That is not being calculated correctly. Corp shows that he's got 6 heaters. Oh, that is right. No, that is right. He's got 6 heaters and 4 actives. So 6 heaters because the ETs are heaters and 4 actives. So that's correct. That is correct. This is another thing that I really want it for, is I want the new setup because it's always going to be listed in the same way. Actives on the far left, semi-actives in the middle, heaters on the right. That's how it's always going to be listed. You're going to have a very easy time notating what's what. Really looking forward to that. But that is what's going down. We're going to try and make that change here. I've got a Coggy looking at that here hopefully soon. ET is OP. If you're not expecting it, but if you're prepared for it and you're thinking ahead of your airplane, there's no reason you should get hit by an ET at all. No reason. It's the same, and if you guys look at those top plays that the bot is putting out, check out last week's top plays of the week. Breeze comes in with 2 PL5s. And it's the same thing. Yes, the ET is longer range and it is a faster missile, but if you are expecting those and you have your head out of the cockpit, they are easy to see and they are easy to defeat. Now, long range, they can pose some problems, but that's when thinking ahead of your aircraft comes in and realizing that, hey, I'm up against a flanker, which if you're in a Western aircraft, you're going to have an RWR that gives you those 29 nails, so you know you're coming up against a flanker. You're going to be able to know and act accordingly that, hey, an ET may be coming. If you see him launch something at distance and you don't get a missile warning, you can think, that's an ET, and I need to defend for that incoming threat. So just food for thought. Zemek in the 18. Let's take a look at the bags that they're taking. Zemek has 2 bags. Looks like he had a center line, but that is gone. Going and looking at Saint for 18th. He still has 3 bags on. Now, all the 16s in today's matchup look like they're carrying 6 actives. And looking at the overlay, no, 18th, Pat, only has 5 missiles? What is that? Oh, because he's in a J11, so Pat actually is not in a 16. Pat is in a J11. So that was a little bit misleading, but Pat had 4 SD-10s and 2 PL5s. Pat is right here, and he has launched that SD-10 at, it looks like, Bob. So the JF-17 on Pat, he's going to have some legs with the missiles that he's launching. So we'll have to keep an eye on if those SD-10s are able to make anything happen. Multiple 120s coming out from Blue Oyster boys in this one. The SD-10 looks like it's going to be on Zemek. Zemek is here, diving away, trying to get away from this incoming missile. Looks like he's going to be able to make it. Meanwhile, Corp is also doing something similar here, trying to get away from a 120. He is down low, and the missile tracking him, trying to be a satellite at 26,000 feet that we cannot even see. So all those guys in the opening pass look like they're going to be just fine. Saint now getting launched on by David from Blue Oyster boys. David is going to be over here to the northwest, launching on Saint. Saint responds with a 120. He's now diving away. So multiple missiles being exchanged, but they're being exchanged from range. Saint has his center line tank still on. This must be the new medic. Burn through those wing tanks, keep the center line. He's going to have a missile on his right side, somewhere over there, 10,000 feet. He is at 12,000 feet, so that missile's trash. He's going to be okay getting away from that one. Now Zemek has a 120, trying to get him, trying to connect with his aircraft, but he is decently fast. at 600 knots. He's going to be over Mach 1. No way that missile's going to connect. But we need to keep track. 18th is being very, very aggressive. Destern down here to the south. Now head on against Dawes, and here is Destern head on against Dawes. 120 flies over Destern and is headed towards Tempest. And here is Tempest low. Did he line of sight it? It looks like it. But the 120 launched from his wingman is actually on Destern, and Destern gets hit. So that was a friendly shot from Tempest that we tracked late. Tempest launched this 120 onto Dawes. Dawes, and we can see it actually tracking Dawes. Dawes is able to line of sight it. When the missile goes pitbull, it picks up Destern. We have seen this quite a bit where people are launching on enemy aircraft with a friendly in front of him. They're not maintaining STT lock to guide the missile in. I don't actually think that works in this patch, but the missile picks up Destern and takes him down. I don't know that he would have survived Corp behind him with the ET, though, but it doesn't matter because Tempest takes him down with the friendly kill. That is really unfortunate. And then we've got this merge coming on up here to the north with Zemek launching onto Saint. Saint doing the same with him. So let's grab both of these guys, Zemek and Saint. Here is Zemek putting Saint on the other one. Are these cameras matched up? They are not. 23.9. So we're going to fix this one. There we go. So we've got Zemek on one, and we've got Saint on the other as they exchange missiles here. Now, Zemek is in a much better defensive position than Saint. Saint waited to get a missile off, and I think that may be his downfall. Here we go. We're going to continue and play this. And the missile's coming for Saint, and he gets taken down. So great show! And then Saint gets taken down. So the exchange there means it's neutral. I didn't think that was going to happen, but they exchanged, and they were very, very close on that launch. Let's take a look at that. So the launch comes within 3 miles. Both those guys get taken down, and then we've actually got a one. Oh! And I didn't see this. Pat flies into the ground. So within the span of 10 seconds, 4 people have died already on both teams. 4 people have died. Destern, Saint, Zemek, and Pat have all died. That means there are only 4 aircraft remaining. Am I missing one? Why is Tempest the only one left? Yeah, that's right. There are only 4 aircraft remaining, 3 of them for Blue Oyster Boys. Bob is the only one, or Tempest, excuse me, Bob, is the only one left for 18th Sparrows. So that's where we're going to pick up. Here we go. Riding along with Tempest. Is he going to be able to do anything in this scenario as the lone wolf? Now, he does have plenty of missiles left on his jet. He's got plenty of munitions. But is he going to be able to be sneaky enough to get 3 kills? He's got 4 AMRAAMs. Just jettisoned those tanks, so he's got plenty of fuel. He's got full internal fuel. But I think he's been seen by his adversaries. Corp sees him. I think Corp's got him in Erst, so putting him on there too. Just launched an ET at Tempest, so Tempest is not going to know that's coming for him. There's the ET coming at Tempest. He is going to line of sight it, and he's actually going to line of sight Corp here too. So Tempest doing a decent job, able to get away from that incoming weapon, whether he saw it or not, doesn't really matter, because it didn't impact his jet. Now, David is picking up the chase, following in with Corp. That was probably relayed to him by his wingman. Tempest, reminder, is the only one left for 18 Sparrows. Corp is hot on his tail. So let's go to padlock view for both of these guys. Tempest is recommitting. Now, Corp is not going to be able to see this, and I highly doubt AWACS is going to see him either. So they may very well just fly right by each other, and does Corp see him? No, they fly right by one another. 120 out from Tempest onto David. Does David see it? He's getting the missile launch warning. He's trying to defend to get away from it. That's not going to work. David, schmammered, he's gone. So David is a casualty to Tempest, but now Tempest has a missile coming on him from Dawes. And I don't think he's going to get away from this. He's flying headlong into it. This one, I think, has got his name written all over it. And yes, indeed, it does. Blue Oyster boys win this round. With 2 pilots remaining, Tempest tried to make something happen there. He tried to make something happen there, but just didn't have enough to be able to take all 3 down. After coming up and shooting at David, he found himself silhouetted against the sky, and Dawes was able to take his ass to the ground. So let's take a look at the TAC view. On that last engagement, we're really going to pay attention to that one because everything else was just kind of happened very, very fast. We already looked over it, but this is where things end up going. So Tempest is the only one left for 18 Sparrows. He does a good job of hiding from Corp. We'll go back even further. So there's the ET. He may have seen this, probably got a missile or nail from Corp, looked over his shoulder, saw a missile launch, dumped, and went into this valley, line of sighting his jet from Corp. Now, then recommits in this valley against David. Now, if I'm going to be particular here, what I would say is never be the first one over the hill. And that's exactly what Tempest does. If we go and look at this from Tempest's point of view, here is Tempest. He is going to be very close to the first one over the hill. Corp's over here. He comes up over the hill. They fly right by one another. I mean, they were actually very, very close in how close they were to coming over the hill. But if he waited in this valley, say he just did a little serpentine down here and was watching that hill, if he knew Tempest was following him, was watching that hill, he could have very easily taken down Corp, then flew over the hill and taken down David in a much more advantageous position. But since he was the first one over the hill or flew over it near simultaneously, 1, he got very lucky that Corp didn't see him, and 2, his double kill or potential double kill turned into a singleton. His other downfall here was instead of going directly down into terrain masking again, he decided, hey, I'm going to turn maybe into these nails and see if I can make something else happen. So I would have liked to see him shoot at David and then immediately go back down in the valley. But instead, he decided to stay over the mountaintops, silhouetted himself for Dawes, and Dawes was able to put the fence post right up where the sun don't shine and give him a ballistic enema, closing out the round for Blue Oyster boys, giving them the round 1 victory over 18 Sparrows. And that means we're going to round 2. Last match, we did a 5-minute intermission. I'm going to try it again because it gives me a little bit more time to get the next match ready to go. I think it's makes for a more organized stream. I do cut these out on the vid or on the VODs. But we're going to go to a 5-minute break. Next round, Blue Oyster boys coming against 18 Sparrows. Kataisi against Nelchek. These guys are going to switch sides. Round 2, Blue Oyster boys up. And I need to refresh the overlay here to make sure that it picks up everything as it should. Refresh that. There it goes. So that is ready to rock and roll. But welcome back. Kataisi against Nelchek. 18th against Blue Oyster boys. Blue Oyster boys are currently up 1-0. Do teams get to use a human AWACS besides who may be flying? No. Not this year. We tried that several years ago. The problem we ran into was that it turned into a chess match. And while that is true for real air combat, and we may have an event that goes back to doing this again in the future, SATAL is supposed to be about who the best pilots are. And it felt like when we were utilizing, at that point it was light ATC because you can see missile launches, or you could see missile launches on combined arms in the ATC view or in the AWACS view. It felt like it was just chess between the two controllers. And it took away a lot of pilot skill and came into just hiding from each other. And it didn't feel right. We may institute it again in the future. I'm not saying it's gone for good. I'm just saying that that's why it's not here right now. So it's just the pilots and the AI-controlled AWACS. I think most people don't actually listen to the AWACS. They just use it for data link. and then use their own sensors in peer-to-peer. Various leagues, huh? Yeah, so this is Silver, 4v4. There are 5 leagues, 2 formats. So there's 6v6 format and 4v4 format. 6v6 is Diamond and Gold. 4v4 is Diamond, Gold, and Silver. And they move down in supposed skill levels, but Silver for 4v4 is kind of its own anomaly in that a lot of the Silver teams that are participating, I tried to make it so that all the Silver teams had never participated in competitive play before, at least in SATAL. Are there 1v1 matches? We do 1v1 events. So as we get SATAL rolling on its own and kind of get it going and getting into the groove of things, which we're getting in stride, we've been trying to knock out some things with the missions. We've been trying to get some things fixed with the overlay. And now that we've made it to that point, I think it's going to be time to move into some more 1v1 events. I'm feeling some Korea or World War II action coming for 1v1. Those are so underutilized, and I think we really need to dive back into this. We've seen all the 1v1 competitions, right? They're all modern. We hardly ever, if ever, have we had a World War II or Korea-specific bracket for BFM. Do you do choppers as well? Scruffy Nerd, there was a helicopter tournament. It was helicopter on helicopter, but we typically stick to fast movers. I got nothing against helicopters. It's just that's what we have done historically here. What is going on? Let's see. My keyboard? Why did I just lose inputs? Interesting. What just happened? All my inputs just like stopped working. Does this work? That doesn't work either. Sometimes I hate technology and the things that it does. At least it's happening right now in the beginning, but I can't click on anything on my computer. Like my mouse moves, but none of... Let's try that. So I just plugged that back in. Why doesn't any of this work? Like I can't click on anything. Huh. How bizarre. How bizarre is that? Oh, now I can. That was so weird. No, it's not batteries. I actually think what's ending up happening is I'm overloading my USB controller. I actually think that's what's happening because I just unplugged my mouse and replugged it back in and it started working. So when in doubt, restart. That's the way to go. But I really think that I'm overloading my USB controller with all of the crap that I have, and it just can't keep up with all the shit that's plugged in on the stream. But, you know, we made it. It's going. We are rocking and rolling. So real-time telemetry should be working now. We don't have to restart anything. I feel like if I stay positive and just be nice to it, as Raptor Dad says, it comes out and everything starts working. But we are rocking and rolling. 18th Sparrows taking on Blue Oyster Boys in a 1-0 matchup that BOB currently leads. So we're riding along with now Tempest for the 18th Sparrows in his F-16. Now, reminder, 18th does have a Singleton JF-17. Can we find it? There it is. So it's being flown by Pat. We missed this. I thought it was all 16s. There's actually a Singleton JF-17 for 18th. Centerline tank off for the JF-17. Corp already on his internal fuel. Reminder, he is a flanker, so he wants to burn a lot of that internal fuel before he makes it to the center of the AO in the actual engagement zone, where he's actually defending and launching on missiles. Yes, he's in the bubble already, but he wants to dump or get through a lot of that internal fuel before he starts to have to defend to make him more maneuverable and less of a risk of ripping off ailerons, wings, and vertical stabs. What do the colored bars represent on the name tags? That is their fuel state. So that is how much fuel they have left in their jet. I could, I guess, put a label there, but I think that just kind of convolutes everything, and I think people will eventually figure out what everything is the more we get into this. I don't think we necessarily need to say that that is health. Missiles now off from Destern and Saint. Reminder, BOB, Blue Oyster Boys, round one. Now, I just saw a couple 120s. They look like they came from Zemek, but David is now defending, and Tempest is now defending for 18th Sparrows. So missiles coming from multiple different directions. I think Tempest actually just launched one. There it goes, 4 miles away before going down and diving a little bit into this defense. He's now dumping chaff. Guys, you don't really need to jump chaff until the missile gets closer to you. It's going to reacquire with how chaff works. Don't waste your chaff as soon as you get the missile warning. Just wait until you get into the notch and you're actually trying to trash it. Just dumping chaff just because, it's not going to do anything. Missile's going to find you again anyway. Destern now is getting this 120, and it's coming close. Destern needs to be really careful about this. Where is that 120? I don't see it. It's right behind him somewhere. Is it below him? I don't see it, and it actually just went into the ground, so he's able to get away from that one without too much of a fight. Where is my man, Pat? 120 now, out onto Tempest, and Tempest got in deep, needs to be careful. Line of sight's this 120. Lots of line of sighting going on. The fight, I think, though, that we need to pay attention to is Pat finding himself on the 6 of Corp. Here is Pat in the JF-17, and he's on the 6 of Corp in the J-11. Now, he did break off his engagement, goes into a preliminary notch. Some low clouds, not too much of a factor. Saint now launching, or had launched a 120 up at Corp and Zemek down here to the south. Corp in the J-11 is right here, now coming back up over the hill. And remember what I said last time. You do not want to be the first one over the hill. And this may be a perfect example as to why, okay? Pat log right there. See how Pat, in this situation, and I'm going to pause this to talk about this briefly. We're going to go to TAC feed just so I can explain what's going on. And I don't have notes on any of this, guys. I just have some notes on when things take place. But Pat is flying up a valley. He has radar scanning all over, hot onto that right now. He has his bearings. He knows what he's looking at. Corp, on the other hand, is coming over a hill. He has no idea what's on the other side of that hill. No clue. So he's going to have to establish his bearings, get with what's in the valley, all of that, as he comes over the hill. So Pat launches on Corp while Corp is still going through that. And this is what we talked about with don't be the first one over the hill. And that's what Corp has done. And I have a bad feeling that this is going to be it for Corp. Here we go. So continuing. Corp now defending, and his J-11 waits to get a missile off, but I think that was desperation, and he gets taken down by the incoming SC-10. He's gone. Pat now defending the 120 from Zemek. Is he going to get hit? No. He line of sighted that, so he's okay. I'm pausing this again so we don't miss anything, because I think there's something else going on somewhere else. And where is it? David has launched a 120 up here onto Tempest. Tempest is defending. Let's pick back up with Tempest here. Here we go. So Tempest is defending this incoming AMRAAM from David, and I think he's going to be okay. Oh! No, I think it was a little bit of desync because Tempest gets hammered. He gets taken down. Pausing this again because there's so much close proximity stuff going on in this fight. Saint launched at Zemek, and that's where we're going to go to the south. Saint on this missile on Zemek, and Zemek, I think, is going to be our next casualty as we pick up with him. He's turning back into this missile. I don't even know that he's going to have a missile warning, and Zemek goes down. So that's another one. Pausing again because so many things are happening simultaneously here. Saint taking down Zemek, and now we've got Destern up here to the north merging with Dawes. And I think that's going to be an interesting one. So putting both of these guys on this engagement. Bubble, half and half. Here we go. So Destern on the left, Dawes on the right. 120 out from Destern. Takes down Dawes, but Destern gets a missile off. Are they going to exchange? Yes! So a trade, and now it's BOB or Blue Oyster Boys with the man down. David, one of the last standing in the last round, is now the last standing in this round. 1v2, David against Saint and Pat. And we're going to put them all on camera now. We're going to see how this unfolds. Reminder that the bubble does shrink. So the bubble is constantly shrinking as this unfolds. David thinking about recommitting, not low in the weeds. He's right over the mountaintops. Saint, same. Pat, weeds. So Pat is the only one that is going to be weeds in this scenario. Saint and David are now committing into one another. And there's a missile off from David. It's a good shot. Saint waited to get a 120 off from himself. And David, is going to be able to line of sight that? I can't tell. But the missile from David barely makes it over the mountaintop and connects with Saint's aircraft. And now we're down to a 1v2. Pat against Saint. Back to the 50-50. Pat onto David, excuse me. F-16 against JF-17. And I think David is first over the hill, but Pat isn't paying attention, and Saint just flat out doesn't see him. Does Pat see him? Yes. So Pat sees him. David banks away, solves all of the geometry problems for Pat. There goes an SD-10. It's tracking onto David, and David gets schmammered. And just for shits and giggles, Pat launches another missile that ramrods the carcass of David. And then Pat, for the hell of it, launches all of his remaining stores. David did decently well at bringing this to a 1v1, but he broke over the hill. Didn't wait, broke over the hill in a very close engagement. Guys, do not come over the hill if you don't know where your opponent is. And Borchi brought up a good point in the last round that the data link on all of these jets is delayed. It is not perfect. Do not trust your data link in close. It is always behind. David, I think, trusted his data link, came over the hill. Pat was not in the place his data link said he was, and ended up paying the piper because of it. Don't come over the hill if you don't know where your opponent is. Pat actually got very lucky there that David didn't see him. They both made the same mistake. They came over a hill, didn't know where their opponent was, and one of them paid the price for it. Pat got very lucky that it wasn't him, because it could have very well been him on the receiving end, and we could have been done in two. But instead, we're going to round three. We all love round three. The end-all, be-all. Let's look at this last engagement in TAC view and take a look at what happened. And you guys can be like, Moltar, you're yelling at me. What the hell are you yelling about? Well, this is what I'm yelling about. So this engagement, Pat and David coming head on. In this situation, if your opponent does not see you and you don't have any nails, climb a little bit. Do a 360 scan. If you've got them on AWACS and you have distance, climb. Give yourself, while you're coming towards him, climb. Give yourself an SA advantage. If you see him and you're higher than him and he doesn't see you, he is going to die because he can't hide from you any longer, right? So in this case, both these guys come over this hill. Pat comes over this hill. David comes over this hill. And David banks the wrong way, probably assuming that Pat's going to be in front of him, but Pat is behind him. And David pays the piper because of it. Pat got lucky, but we all know luck is part of air combat, takes down David, giving 18th Sparrows the round 2 win, which means we're going to round 3, baby. Supercut, and then be right back. Go get something to drink. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're here, Blue Oyster Boys against 18th Sparrows. Kataisi against Nelchik, tied up at 1 apiece. What a round, what a matchup this has been so far. Things have happened so fast. I've had to pause things repeatedly in order to make this stuff work. And it seems that round 3 may be the same way. I mean, just things have been happening. Multiple people have been dying in the span of 10 seconds. I mean, round 1, we lost like 4 guys in 10 seconds. Round 2, it was another 4 guys in like 15 seconds. I mean, things are happening so fast. Recap on who is flying. 18 Sparrows, Destern, Pat, Tempest, and Saint. The icon is wrong. Pat is in a JF-17. He is not in a 16. That is a 17, not a 16. So be aware of that. Blue Oyster Boys are in 316. Dawes, David, Zemek, and Corp in the J11. David almost made it happen there in round 2, but Pat in the JF-17 turned the correct way. David turned the wrong way over that hill and was able to make the kill and the turn when it counted. All the countermeasures in the world weren't going to save David during that engagement. Pat got a little bit lucky coming over the hill, the correct direction just slightly after David did, and was able to see David there at the last precepts of round 2 and took David down to clinch it for 18 Sparrows, tying us at 1 apiece. How do we think this round is going to go? My personal query is that, or idea is that I think this round is going to go fast. It's going to go very fast. Okay, these guys are now taking off, but both the first rounds have gone very fast. I think this round is also going to go very fast, so be ready for more pausing just to make sure we don't miss anything. We're going to recap in TAC view and go over it all as this stuff continues to unfold, but these guys are taking off. We can see 18th departing here at the airfield, and I think this is Nelchik that they are departing out of. Yeah, 18's out of Nelchik. Blue Oyster Boys are going to be out of Kataisi. There go the last 2 for 18th. Tempest and Pat. Destern and Saint were the first 2 to take off. And now we can see the last 2 taking and departing for Blue Oyster Boys down at Kataisi. Corp and David have already departed Kataisi. So similar departure methods for both of these 2 teams. Blue Oyster Boys and 18th Sparrows both doing a slight delayed departure for leaving their airbase. Check. Oh, that was not for me. I see. Archer referenced another channel so that somebody else could maybe join a team. So Pat making stuff happen in round 2. Let's take a look and see how many kills everybody's got so far. So Tempest, 2 kills. Zemek, 1 kill. Saint, 2 kills. Dawes, 1. David had 3 kills. No, 2 kills in the last round. 2 kills in the last round. So nobody's really standing out all too much is on the kill counter. Everybody's pretty evenly spread for number of kills. I don't know that anybody has no kills. Corp doesn't have any kills in the J11. Is Corp going to show up here in round 2? Will the J11 finally make its presence known here in round 3? It has no kills so far. Let's win round 3. Blue Oyster Boys team, we'll have to see. PvE, I can survive and succeed. Well, you got to dive into that PvP. See if it's your cup of tea. You got to start somewhere. Everybody's like, oh, I'm too afraid to do PvP. Man, getting into PvP and surrounding yourself, and I don't know if this is what you meant, but I'm going on a tangent. Surrounding yourself with good pilots will make you a better pilot. Finding a group to play with and being able to judge each other and critique each other is just going to make you better. So that's my thing of it. I started in PvP. I've never done PvE. I mean, I guess I kind of did in the A10, but I did it on PvP servers. I flew virtually only blue flag with the A10. Then it was the flanker in blue flag, doing all air-to-air. And then I moved to the Hornet, and then I moved to the 16. So I've never really done PvE. I guess it's not my cup of tea. I don't like being engaged by AI aircraft, right? I'd much rather be engaged by players, because that's how I get my rocks off in gaming, killing other people. Now, yes, the A10 shooting AI tanks and stuff, that's part of it, but being engaged by AI players or human players while you're doing that is a nice medium ground. But now that I'm only in air-to-air, I think there's no way I could go back to PvP, or PvE, excuse me. So these guys are ingressing. Tanks off from Pat. Corp in the J11 is very low. He's starting low and staying low. Do you still fly now and then on server sports? Yeah, I do. It's always on Growling Sidewinder as of right now, because that's where all the people are. But I'll probably fly on there after this. After the stream's over, that's probably where I'll be at for a couple sorties, making things happen. Destern just launched an AIM 120 as it takes to the skies 2 miles away from his jet. I saw an ST-10 somewhere go off for someone. Not sure who that's on. It looks like it's on the middle ground of Blue Oyster Boys aircraft somewhere down here. The 120s are as well. Lots of launches in the opening throws of this matchup early. Now, in the last ones, we saw some early launches, but these guys fly headlong into each other and get shit done rapidly. So I apologize about pausing, ladies and gentlemen, but if I don't pause, we will miss things. So nothing happening right now. David, we'll pick up with him. David is coming in here to the north on a 2-ship from 18th. Saint and Pat are coming in on him. He launches a 120. There goes the 120 from David. That's probably going to be up onto Saint's aircraft. He's flying with Dawes. Zemek and Corp are going to be down to the south. Zemek, another guy for Blue Oyster Boys, has just launched this 120, and that 120 is destined for Destern. 4 miles away, and that is not an Ingress song. 4 miles away, 1,000 knots. This missile doesn't have a chance in hell at being able to connect with anyone. Now, Saint up here to the north of 18th formation, now trying to run away from a 120 that's going to be over on his left. There it is. 2 miles away. It doesn't have the energy to be able to come in and make anything happen, so he's going to be okay. Just saw that missile fly underneath him. Now, in the middle, 120 out from Tempest onto Dawes. And Zemek now coming in the center, launched a 120. It's a half mile away. That one looks like it's going to be on Destern. Destern. Is it on Destern? It is on Destern. Destern defending, though defending late, got a missile off. Missile's 3.5 miles away from his aircraft and rapidly closing 2 miles, and it flies behind him. So he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. And going back to TAC view so you guys can see the battlefield as a whole of what's going on. Nobody committing very far into the fight, though David and Dawes look like they're trying to make something happen over here to the west. So David and Dawes just got a 120 out onto Pat. Pat now defending. Is he going to be able to line of sight this? No. 1 mile away. Is it coming down? No, he notched it. But are they continuing to press? David just launched another 120. That's not tracking. Is it tracking Pat? No. Pat has recommitted. Oh, but David took down Saint. So Saint went down. Where did he go down? So David got this missile off on the side, and it went for Saint. I thought it was this missile that was going to impact Pat, but this was the one we needed to launch. I didn't even see this missile come off. It was launched off aspect. Saint tried to notch it, but wasn't able to do so. Gets taken to school by that incoming AMRAAM, and David gets his team, Blue Oyster Boys, on the board here first. So picking up again with the action, here we go. Pat pressing against David and Dawes. Somebody else we need to watch is Corp up here, low and getting in deep. Corp in the J11, can he finally make his presence felt? He has done nothing so far. Now, head on with Tempest, coming over the hill. I don't usually suggest this coming over the hill, but I think Tempest was far enough away that it's not going to cause any problems. Meanwhile, while he's doing that, we've got an SD-10 and a head-on incursion coming between Dawes and Pat. So Dawes and Pat trying to make something happen here. And then we've got another one. So Corp just launched, that was the wrong thing, wrong button. Corp just launched a couple missiles down, and they're going into the ground. And Corp's get a missile launched on him. It doesn't track. And there's a missile going for Tempest down low. There goes a second one. Tempest trying to run. That's an R-77, like a fifth missile launched onto Tempest. Tempest trying to run like mad. R-77 connects. And we're going to pause to make sure we don't miss anything, because I think there's plenty of stuff going on down here. We've got a merge with Pat and Dawes. And we've also got one with Destern and Zemek. So Pat and Dawes, I'm going to put a camera on there. And then we've got another one of Dawes. No, Destern and Zemek. They're up here to the north. I'm going to try and make sure I don't miss anything else. No, that should be good. So we'll go to split screen. Here we go. So Dawes and Pat are merged, and Zemek and Destern are merged. 120 off gimbal from Zemek onto Destern. Zemek gets taken down. I think Zemek or Destern is going to be able to get away. Did he survive? Did he survive that one? No, they traded. So these guys traded in here in the merge. We've seen a lot of trades come in here. But let's pick back up with Dawes and Pat as they come into this merge. Pat is in a pretty good position, launches an SD-10. That doesn't track as Dawes is in a perpetual notch. Flares coming as Dawes knows he's in trouble. We're going on both sides of this engagement now. Still flaring, and missile off from somebody on Dave. Oh, David takes down a friendly of Dawes. No! So David takes down Dawes in that engagement. A friendly kill is never what we want to see, and Pat gets his bacon save there. It is 1v2 though. So Pat against David and Corp. Is he going to be able to make something happen here? Corp is low. Out of the fight seemingly for now. He's a little bit away. David is unknowingly merged with Pat. They don't see each other. I think they know that they're close to one another, but they don't see one another. David's still a bit away. Probably sees him on data link. David is in the J11. Corp is in the J11, still a bit away, trying to come in here. It is Corp and David against Pat. Pat trying to make something happen against David. I don't think he's got any SD-10s though. Missile utilization, if he would have utilized the PL5 instead of the SD-10, he could have very easily taken down David. But instead, he finds himself in a situation where he wishes he had one, and now he's got an R-77 trailing him. He gets hit. PL-5 slowly closing on David. Is it going to be able to run him down, or are we going to see it from the grave? Half mile, and no. It runs out of juice, so David lives to fight another day, being saved by Corp in the J11. Has an unbeknownst to him PL5 trying to trail him. Let's go to the TAC view, take a look at how the last parts of this match went down. Where was that last ST10? So here is that last ST10 from Pat. If this was a PL5, guys, if this was a PL5, one, Dawes would be dead. Dawes would be dead if this was a PL5. However, David could have hit Pat with the 9M, with the 9 mic, if Pat had killed Dawes. So maybe the ST10 not killing Dawes was a saving grace? Or was it no, it was a 120. Okay, so that's another fire into a furball. Not a good idea. But Pat could have died to that 120 if Dawes had been dead. That could have gone either way. But this missile, this ST10, fired right here. If that was a PL5, he could have taken down David in this situation. Launched and then hidden, but instead he has to try and run him down, get closer with the PL5 to get a higher PK. He's not able to do so, and while he's trying to run him down, he gets ramrodded by the R-77 from Corp. Missile utilization, munitions management is paramount. And in this case, it ends up getting Pat killed and gives Blue Oyster Boys the round 3 win over 18th Sparrows. So well flown by those guys. Well done by everybody involved. Congratulations to Blue Oyster Boys for taking this one in 3. So tomorrow's matches, or match, what do we have tomorrow? So I had to skip the D3W VFMA because it's flown on 13133. I'm trying to get a version of that to work. So that'll probably be flown later in the year along with the other 2 matches that so far on 13133. Scheduled matches for tomorrow are Eclipse Task Force against Grim Reapers and Diamond 6v6 and Cobra Squadron against JTF 121. So JTF 121, they actually dropped out. I don't know if this match took place. That may be a bye. But if either of these matches or both of them took place on version 13133, it will not take place. We may or may not have a match tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure. Friday's scheduled matches bring us back to Silver League. Nemesis Haw against LAO and Dundee Flight against 406th Red Bandits. So that is what is on the agenda coming up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. If you have missed any matches in the past, please check out our YouTube, subscribe to us on Twitter, or follow us on Twitter. That's where we announce all of our supercuts in the match, warnings and all that stuff. But check out YouTube for any matches if you've missed them. I try and cut them down so you don't have to wait between matches. I get rid of the Be Right Back screens and all of that. That brings us to the end, ladies and gentlemen. BOB, Blue Oyster Boys, taking it over 18 Sparrows in a best of 3, going the distance. Hopefully we'll see you guys again tomorrow. 1600 Zulu for tomorrow's matches. Until then, stay safe in those virtual skies, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.